Hello, today we're talking about dividing by powers of 10. Powers of 10, what do I even mean by that? Some of you might be wondering. Well, basically, we work in the base 10 system, and powers of 10, we're talking about numbers that start with a 1 and end in a 0. So 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and so on. You can take any number, start it with a 1, put as many zeros as you want after it, and I wonder what number I just wrote. I think it's 1 trillion. Yes, I have written, nope, 1 billion actually. Anyway, you can take any number, start it with a 1, have zeros follow it, and it's a power of 10. And we haven't learned it yet, but what is a power of 10? I'm going to tell you very, very quickly. So basically, let's say you have 10 and you have an exponent of 1. Now this number right here, that's called an exponent, which we haven't learned yet, but now you know what it is. And so 10 to the power of 1 means 10. Any number to the power of 1 is itself. 10 to the power of 2 means you multiply the number by itself this many times. You multiply the number by itself however times the exponent is. So 10 times 10, 100, because here we've got an exponent of 2, so you multiply 10 by itself 2 times. Now we'll do just one more so you get it. 10 to the power of 3, and that's just the language you use, to the power of. 10 with an exponent of 3, which is called 10 to the power of 3, is the same as 10 times 10 times 10. You can see we've got 10 written out 3 times multiplied, and that's going to be 1,000 because 10 times 10 is 100, 100 times 10 is 1,000. Now, I don't want to go too deep into a lesson on exponents, but suffice it to say that when we are talking about dividing by powers of 10, what we're really talking about is dividing by numbers that start with a 1 and end in a 0, like all these numbers that I've written right now, and so on. So let's get to it. Let's say you have the number 250, and you want to divide it by 10. The simple rule is that you are going to move the decimal point. Now imagine, so a lot of times whole numbers don't have decimal points written with them, so you can just insert it. And so there's 1 0 here. 10 has 1 0, and so you're going to move it leftward 1 time, which means 250 divided by 10 is 25. And you can throw in that decimal point if you want. So it's 25 or 25.0. That's a really bad 0. Let me rewrite that. Bad 0. There, better 0. 25.0, which is the same as 25. Let's do a few more examples. What if we have the number 360 and we want to divide that by 10? The same rule applies. We've got 1 0, throw in the decimal. We're going to move 1 time over, and so the answer there is 36 or 36.0 if it helps to visualize that decimal point with the 0 next to it. What about bigger numbers though, right? You're probably saying, well, what if I have 250,000 and I'm dividing it by 10? Well, the same rule applies. We are going to just put that decimal point in, move it over, and I don't think I have room for the answer over here, so I'm going to move it over here and write it over here. The answer is going to be, let's see, 25000, which is 25,000. There's my answer. That's all there is to it. Okay, so we've done some dividing by 10, but what if we're going to do dividing by 100? 18,000 divided by 100 equals, well now, check it out, we've got 2 zeros. So, same rule applies. we're going to throw in that decimal point, and we're now going to move it one spot over, and then another spot over, 2 spots over. And throw in that decimal point, the answer is going to be 180. What if I have, let's do one more, 175,000, and you want to divide it by 1,000? Well, do the same thing. You're going to throw in that decimal point, you're going to move it 1, 2, 3 spots over, and the answer is going to be 175. So that's really all there is to it, is moving the decimal point over leftward. Now, there is one other tactic that for anyone who, some people have better, find it easier to work with this other tactic. Let me tell you what it is. We'll take the same number, 175,000, and we're going to divide it by 1,000. And one technique is to just look at the number of zeros that you have in the divisor, the number that you're dividing by, cross them out, and cross the same number out in the dividend, the number that's being divided, and then you have your answer, which is, again, 175. So that's kind of a, I guess you could say, quick and dirty way of doing it also. And it'll work with a lot of numbers. It doesn't work all the time. So for instance, if you have 200, well, let's do 25,000 divided by 10,000. Well, here it doesn't work. Because, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, but here I have 3 zeros and I can't cross out that 5, so that's not going to work. And so that's one of the reasons that I don't always encourage this method, especially because later on, kids are going to learn how to work with decimals, and it doesn't work with decimals. And so I really encourage the moving leftward method and getting the kids used to moving that decimal point leftward. As an example, let's say you have 35.7 and you divide it by 10, and this is something that that you kids are going to learn later. The way that you do this is, as you can see, the dividend has no zeros in it. So in this case, you would actually apply the same principle. You would move that decimal point over, and your answer would be 3.57. But like I said, I don't want to confuse you too much. And so suffice it to say that really all we're going to do and get in practice is really just moving the decimal over to the left. Move that decimal point over to the left, however number of zeros you have. And that's all for today. Till next time, mathematicians.